Hi, this is Gail with Beaded Jewelry Diva. Today we are going to learn how to do a double spiral rope. This is a beading stitch that's very nice. It's very slinky. It is a little on the time-consuming side, but it is wonderful once you get it done. And at the end you'll see some other double spiral ropes that I've done along with a triple spiral, just so to get your appetite whetted. But before we get started, I will say if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you don't already subscribe to my YouTube channel, I hope that you'll do so. Now today all we're going to do is learn how to do a stitch. I will be having a tutorial on a project with a double spiral, but today it's just going to be learning how to do the stitch. We're going to be doing it with size 8 and size 6 seed beads, so it's easier for you to see. So come on along and let's see what kind of supplies that we're going to need in order to do this beading stitch. Here's what we're going to need to work with this. We are going to need some size 6 seed beads. These are going to be my core beads. I also have some size 6 beads. These are going to be my embellishment beads. And then I have two different colors of size 8 beads. A needle, this is size 11. You could use size 10 very easily. And then fire line, I'm just using 6 pound. You could use 8 pound or 10 pound even pretty easily. Alright, let's go ahead and see how to do this bead stitch. Alright, similar to just a regular single spiral stitch, I've got 3 of my size 6 beads. These are my core beads. I've got them strung on. I've got about a 6-inch tail that I'm going to use to weave in later. Working thread is coming out of this end, and I'm going to pick up one of my dark blues, one of my silvers. Remember, the dark blue is 8, the silver is a size 6, and then 2 more of my dark blues. I'm going to run it up through the bottom of these 3 core beads and pull it through. Yikes. Okay, so this is what I've got so far. Now I am not going to add another core bead yet because I'm going to add the second color of my spiral. So I'm going to pick up, this time I'm going to pick up 2 of the size 8s, 1 size 6, and then 1 size 8. I'm going to put it up through my core beads and pull. So this is more or less what I have so far. Alright, now to grow my spiral I have to add a core bead. This is pretty much just like your regular spiral stitch, but we've got 2 arms to it. So I've got my second or my 4th cord bead on. Remember, I'm going to count down 3 since I'm working in groups of 3. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to pick up the dark blue, silver, and 2 more dark blues. Counting down 1, 2, 3, I'm going to put my needle in through the 3rd bead down. And this is very important. Whatever color you're adding, that color should be on your right. If you're a righty, I guess this probably makes more sense. If you're a lefty, you probably want to have it on the left. Either way is fine, as so long as you're consistent and you're going to pull it up through. Now the reason being that you want whatever color you're adding to be on your right or left, pick a direction, is because that is the way that it's going to spiral up. And you'll see what I mean after a few more stitches. So my next one is I've still got to add the lighter blue one. So I'm going to flip it so that my lighter blue is on my right hand side. I'm going to pick up 2 of my lighter blues, the silver, and then 1 more of the lighter blues. Count down 3 from the top, 1, 2, 3. And I know this looks a little wobbly at the moment, but we can tighten that up real easily. So I've got this. I'm coming through the core beads again and tighten. And this is what I have now. I have 2 on this side and 2 on this side. Let's try it one more time, and then and then I'll go through a few more iterations of it, a few more rounds of it, and we'll come back and you can see what it looks like when it has more spirals. All right, so remember, I've just added my next core bead. I'm going to pick up, I'm going to have my dark blues on my right hand side. I'm going to pick up one dark blue, one silver, and then two dark blues. I'm going to count down 3 from the top, 1, 2, 3, put my needle in, so you can see my needle is going into the third one, put my needle up through, and pull. And just make sure that when you pull, your thread, let me see if I've got that. Boy, okay, there we go. So you can see that this is the first one I put on, the second, and then this is the third. Now I'm going to flip again so that my light blues are on the right. Pick up 2 light blues, a silver, and another light blue. 3 from the top, 1, 2, 3, needle through the third, and up through the other 2. So there we've got it so far. Now, I know this looks like a jumbled mess. It will look better, trust me. So I'm going to do some more rounds and then come back when the spiral is formed a little bit more so you can see what it looks like after a little bit more work is done. I'm a little farther along, but now I don't have much thread left, so let me show you how to go ahead and add new thread. Alright, so you can see right now I'm coming out of a core bead, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back down through one of the wings, and I'm going to go down this wing. So I've tightened that up. I'm going to do a half hitch knot, and I'm going to go up through one of the core beads. Now, why just one? Well, what I want to do is I want to distribute this thread through several of the wings. And so I've got to find one of the wings that's coming out of this core bead. So if I look around, and I'm going to run my needle under this one, if I look, I can see that this one right here, oops, let's see if I can get that in focus better. There we go. So you can see that this wing is coming out of this core bead. So I'm going to slide down just past the metal bead. I don't like to tie knots next to metal beads whenever I can avoid it. And I'm going to do another half hitch knot. Now normally I would do this several times. I would probably put in at least 3 half hitches. But for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to go ahead and put in a couple. Then I would just take the needle and thread and put it down through the core beads, and I do not tie a half hitch around the core beads because I never know when I'm going to need to put my needle down through them again. But this is just the way to end a thread. So let me finish ending it. I'm going to rethread my needle and then I'll show you how to start up a new thread. Alright, I've got a new piece of thread on and I'm coming up through a couple of the wings. So I'm starting it off just really the same way I ended it. I'm going to go ahead and do a half hitch knot. And I'm going to do this 2 or 3 times. Now I've got to watch out because when I'm coming up through these beads, now ultimately I want to come right out of this one. I don't want to be coming out of one of these wings. So I've got to watch out. So I'm going to go down through another one. And by the way, I keep my tail on for right now because that always lets me know what end I started on, which is sometimes rather interesting when I forget where I start. Okay, I've got this bead that I'm coming out of, so I'm going to find this one is where I need to start going up. I'm not going to tie a half hitch next to the silver bead, and I am going to do one right here. I'm just going to do 2 half hitches right now just so I can kind of move this along. And there's the tail coming out, the tail of the thread that I just started. Okay, so I've got this, and now instead of going down into this bead, so instead of going down into this one, which is where this wing is going into, I'm going to go up through the one right up above it. And I'm going to come up through all the core beads. And there, I've gone ahead and successfully added a new piece of thread. So the first gotcha is, let's see, I'm going to bring down one of my core beads. And if you're not paying attention and you go ahead and you start putting on another wing, and you have the wrong color on the right hand side of your beads. So this is what it's going to look like. And it's going to be pretty obvious that you've made a mistake. And let me get rid of some of those. So now you can see that I've got kind of a Y, or a V. I've got the blue beads here, the blue beads here. And then you can see that it's really starting, it interrupts the spiral. So what do? Well, you guessed it, you got to rip it back. As you can see, I'm a little bit further along, and I want to show you the next, excuse me, the next thing you need to watch out for. All right, so I'm getting ready to add another core bead, and then I'm going to do my dark blues. So 1 dark blue, a silver, and 2 dark blues. And I have, it's really difficult to see where your needle needs to go, so you spread the beads apart. Now, that being said, it is much easier to do this with size 6 seed beads than it is with smaller seed beads. But I've got my thread, or my work spread apart. I know I need to go into this bead right here, but it's tight. So I can probably spend a while trying to do that, or I can just bend it back a little bit, clear the space, bend it back, and this gives me a little bit of space to work my needle into. So there it comes out of those two, and then I just need to run it up through the final one, that my new core bead. All right. Now, what do I need to do? I think I'm going to go ahead and end this right here. So I'm going to do it the standard way. I'm just going to go down through the wings. And I will go ahead and do this. I'm going to finish off both ends, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you some other examples and explain other things about this wonderful stitch. So here it is. Now, as you can see, you can't really see the core beads in this because I used a very similar color. Now, here's a situation where the core beads are showing. And that might be something that you want to have happen. That might not want to be what you have happen. So keep that in mind. If you don't want your core beads showing, make sure to pick a core bead that's similar to your outside color beads. Now, I will say that normally I do not work with size 6s and size 8s when I'm doing a double spiral. I usually work with these, size 11s. So as you can see here, I've got some size 8 hex beads that I use for an embellishment beads, and I really do have some size 8 iris that I'm using for embellishment. But you can see that this is much thinner than this one, but it's also more delicate, I think. And I used a size 8 seed bead as my core bead. So the general rule of thumb is that whatever size your core bead is, you want to use one size down for your wing bead, so to speak. The reason being is I have done this with a size 6 bead, and then I've used the size 11s around it. And it does two things. One, the size 11s tend to get sucked into the size 6s. And two, it doesn't look all that great. There's not enough of the size 11s to really cover the core beads. So that's why I will use size 6s with 11s if I'm doing a triple or quad spiral. And I will have a video on that later on. But really, if I'm doing a double spiral, I like to use a size 8 core bead along with size 11 for the main seed beads, and then maybe a size 8 for an embellishment bead. Here are a few other items to look at. Now I'm doing a project on this, so look for a video on this fairly soon. I call this one Ice Princess, and it's done with size 11s, some hexes, and some drop beads. So look for a video tutorial on this one. I'd also like to show you some triple spirals. Here's one that's a triple spiral. I did use a size 6 core bead for this one, but that's because I have a triple spiral. So you see I can have the greens, I have the browns, and then I have the browns with the hexes. So that's a triple spiral. And here's another triple spiral that I've been playing with. It has some of the beigey type beads, beigey pink, then some Picasso colored beads, and then some rose gold size 11s. So again, I have a size 6 core bead with this. And you notice that I am using a size 11, but that's because I've also got some 8s to help prevent it from getting sucked down into the size 6 core bead. So anyway, I will have videos later on how to do triple spirals, but for right now, we've got our double spirals, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I hope that you'll do so you never miss another video. Look for the video tutorial on this one, and I'd love to see you at my website, www.beadedjewelrydiva.com. This is Gail signing out, saying have yourself a great day. Bye!